Hey everybody, this is Nonfinite here tonight to show you how to backlight and grow sound mod a GameBoy Pocket. So you see in front of you a lot of the equipment required to do this mod. I'm just gonna run over it quickly and then we will get started. So I have two different size wire cutters here. Smaller ones are going to be handy for doing some small cutting of plastic inside of the case. The larger one is actually used to snip off a bit of the PCB later on in the process. So having a large one actually does help quite a bit, and then you really do need a small one as well, because the part you're going to be cutting off for putting in your 1/8" jack is it's kind of cramped in there. So try to get two sizes if you can, or maybe try to find a happy medium, something like that. I have a razor blade here, a pair of wire strippers, a pair of headphones for testing later on, Phillips head screwdriver. You're going to need a flat screwdriver as well. There you go, and a tri-wing. And I highly recommend you have at least one microfiber cloth, so you can, well, one, not scratch up your Game Boy any more than it already is, and two, it really helps with peeling your LCD for preparation and installation of the backlight. So if I could recommend any one piece of equipment, it would be a microfiber cloth. I really highly recommend you get one. They're super cheap, easy to find. So yeah, let's get started here. I've already taken off the screws. There are 6 screws on the exterior. You would use your tri-wing screwdriver for this. One here, 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 and then there are 2 inside the battery compartment, right there and there. That should come off. There are 3 screws securing the printed circuit board to the Game Boy case. One here, and one behind the battery contacts by the speaker right here. Remove those as well. I've already done that. Now what we're going to do is remove this ribbon cable right here. What that's going to do is allow us to detach the PCB from the LCD, which is right there. Alright, so there are 2 white tabs on the side of this ribbon cable. What I want you to do is just use your thumb or finger to release those tabs, and then you can either pick up the PCB and just wiggle it out, or you can take your screwdriver and sort of insert it underneath the ribbon cable and just go like that. Either way is just fine. The PCB is now detached. Alright, set that aside. Now we're going to remove our LCD from the case. Now there's a little bit of adhesive around the perimeter of this LCD that keeps it in place, so you're going to actually have to pry it up, unless your front screen protector is gone, in which case you can simply distribute your pressure and just sort of push down and it'll pop out. Also, make sure you don't lose these. They have a tendency to pop out while you're moving your case around. So either take a razor blade or your flat screwdriver, insert it underneath your LCD on the top there, and then use this plastic case here as leverage to just sort of pop it up until you can get a finger underneath, like so, and then the rest is just gentle pulling. The adhesive may actually come with. In this case it did come off a little bit, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove that. I recommend removing this even if it doesn't come off, just because once you clean your LCD, this will trap any dirt or fuzz or anything like that that you have floating around on your table, and it will end up on your LCD too, around the corners. It looks bad, so I would recommend getting rid of it. Now, the part people hate. Peeling your LCD. We do this so you can install backlight behind your LCD. This white material right here contains a reflective layer and a layer of polarized film. So essentially the backlight we're going to be using is a replacement for both of those layers, and then as an added bonus it has LEDs in it, so the back lights up and it's a lot easier to see your LCD. So first things first, we're going to remove this piece of tape right here that's attaching this ribbon cable to the white material. Just carefully remove that, and I also remove it from the ribbon cable. I put more tape back on later, but I really see no reason in keeping that particular tape. Tape is cheap, so take your razor blade. Now what I'm going to be doing is cutting into the corner of this just underneath the white layer, and then I'm going to start peeling it back until I have it off this corner. Then I'm going to start peeling that way until I have it off that corner, and then I'm going to sort of try to wiggle it off completely. Some people think this is more difficult than modding a DMG. It has its ups and downs. There are certainly cases where these do present quite a hassle getting them off, but I don't know, I seem to have pretty good success with it. I would almost say that I prefer modding pockets to modding DMGs. So we have a corner, just like so, and here's where our microfiber comes in handy. Instead of keeping it up here and sort of like squeezing it, which can be very dangerous and can damage your LCD because there are very thin pieces of glass on this side and this side that can crack or, you know, shatter and go into your fingers, I guess, too. It never happened to me, but it's possible. You can just distribute your pressure using your fingers against the microfiber. The LCD won't get scratched. Everybody's happy. So here we go, peeling our LCD. This one is going very, very well. Alright, so we are off the back corner here. That's good. Our reflective and polarized white layer is going to have to bend over in on itself, and then eventually we're going to have to pull the layer this way, right? So instead of pulling that way and colliding with the ribbon cable here and here, we pull this way. As you can see, it's off the other corner now as well. We're going to tuck it underneath that ribbon cable to make sure we don't damage anything. Okay, so I'm just going to show you what I did there because my fingers are big and clunky and I imagine you had a hard time seeing that. So I just pulled it and folded it underneath the ribbon cable here. Now we're going to finish pulling it off. There we go. We just peeled an LCD. Good job. What I would do now is just take your finger, and wherever you cut into that white layer, there's going to be a little bit of glue and adhesive left. Just rub it off with your finger pad, or you can use a latex glove or another allergen-safe glove material, whatever you're using, or you can just use your fingers. It's really fine. There we go. Now we take our backlight. What we have here is a 4 LED Nonfinite electronics backlight. These aren't actually commercially available yet, but they will be very soon. There's a protective layer on the front of them as well, so you will want to remove that layer, just like so. And these are really nice. They fit right in. No real cutting or modification is necessary. And have your cords come out on the right side with the back of the LCD facing up. You want your cords to go out to the right. Center it. And I want you to grab some tape and put some tape on the back, just to keep things in place. Now, you may have noticed we missed the polarizer. We haven't put in replacement polarized film for the polarized film we already pulled off. I prefer to put this on first just to take care of keeping that glass exposed as soon as possible. The longer it's exposed, the more likely it is that you'll get dust and dirt on it, and then it's a real pain to clean. So when we do our next video, we're going to be putting the polarized film in, we're going to be putting the LCD into the case, and then we're going to be doing our Pro Sound mod. Thanks for watching. Welcome back. This is part 2 of our Pocket backlighting and Pro Sound modding tutorial. So you see I have a polarized film here and 1/8 inch audio jack that I've already soldered some wires to. We're going to be installing our LCD with polarizer into our case. We're going to be doing a little bit of case modding, and we're going to pop a 1/8 inch jack into our Pocket as well. So we will have a backlit Pro sounded GameBoy Pocket. So take your polarized film, careful not to get any fingerprints on it, and insert it between glass and your backlight. Now, depending on the direction you put this in, it'll either turn out green or it'll turn out blue. And depending on that, you will either have a normal or a polarized screen. So green is going to be normal polarization. That's what you're probably used to if you've used a Game Boy before. If you turn it 90 degrees, you get a dark blue, and that means all the pixels, once they're activated, will actually reverse themselves visually. So I like normal. I walk around outside a lot, so it's easier for me to see what I'm doing with the normal LCD, so we're going to do a normal today. Just take your microfiber or Q-tip or anything like that, just give your LCD a once over, make sure it's free of any dust or anything like that, and set it aside for now. Case modding. We're going to be removing a very small amount of plastic from the upper right portion of the Game Boy Pocket if you're looking at it from the front. This is the front part of the case here, and we're actually going to be cutting this away right here, this part, and we're going to be drilling a hole right here, and then that's where our 1/8 inch jack is going to come out. So I've actually got one over here that I can show you already, just like so. So yeah. Let's start by cutting away that little strip of plastic on the interior. This is where the small wire cutters come in handy. Big ones would be kind of difficult to get in there. You can do it, but it's not as easy. I like to cut about 3 or 4 times, and what I'll do is I will start right above this post, right here, cut above it, just like so. The rest are pretty straightforward. You're just cutting this way with your cutters facing like so. So go ahead and do that. We already did one. That's 2, 3, and 4. So as you can see, plastic's still in there, but it's been cut away. Now what we're going to do is use either a pair of needle nose pliers or those wire cutters you just used to sort of wiggle and pry them out. There's one, 2, 3, and 4. So there we have our plastic remnants. You can toss that. Alright, I want you to put the back of your case on top of the front of it. Take one of your screws. I have a container over here where I put all my excess screws. You should have a baggie or some container where you can keep them straight. Take one of your tri-wing screws, insert it into the top left if you're looking at the back of the Game Boy. It would be the top right if you're looking at the front, but why would you be looking at the front? You're putting in the screw. So put in that screw, tighten it as best you can. I wouldn't crank on it or anything, just, you know, normal tightness. Okay, there we go. This step you're going to need a drill. Now I'm using a 1/4 inch bit. If you have a stepper bit, I would recommend using it. You can use a standard bit. Just be prepared. Once you start cutting into this plastic, that spiral of the bit is going to get caught in the plastic and it's going to yank your hand forward. So go very slowly and grip it pretty tight with one hand while you're drilling with the other, and then just like keep your arm really steady. Be prepared to sort of fight back a little bit. Otherwise your drill will just go right in there and you might actually end up doing some damage to the case in the process. So be cautious with this step, please. I have a stepper bit, I just don't know where it is at the minute, so we're using the 1/4 inch. And yeah, that is 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch hole for an 1/8 inch jack. I'm not making a mistake there. See? See what I mean? Gonna have to go really slowly, and there we go. Try not to make an ass of yourself while you're doing this. And also, not a good idea to do this over your microfiber cloth. Just saying. Let's clean that off quick. Okay, and we're back. So, we have our hole drilled. Open that sucker up. Put your screw back. And here we go. If you have any excess plastic from where you drilled, make sure it's out of the case. Otherwise it might end up in front of the LCD and we don't want that. At this point, if you have a replacement front screen, one of these guys, I would recommend popping the old one off. It's easier to do final touch-ups on your LCD without this in the way. This one was pretty scratched up, so I'm going to replace it. I'm going to toss this one. Pop my switch back in. Plastic parts on these pockets have a tendency of falling out pretty frequently, so if you're feeling insecure, just grab them all out and place them in a baggie or something. It's up to you though. Okay, so case is modded. That's all we need to do as far as plastic. At this point, what you would want to do is solder your 1/8" jack onto your PCB. Now I'm going to send you a link to the points you're supposed to be soldering to, but basically the first 3 points on this potentiometer over here. So 1, 2, and 3. Those are the 3 farthest away from this big black piece right here. Alright? By the way, the way this works is from the outside going in, you have shield your left channel and your right channel. Okay, so like I said, I already have this soldered onto my jack, just to sort of make this video a little bit easier. What I like to do is figure out just how much length I'm going to need to do this. Not very much. That's about right. So I'm just going to cut off the excess here. Toss it. Take your razor blade, if you're using a ribbon cable from my shop, or ribbon cable from anywhere, and just cut notches in between the 3 wires. Pull it apart a little bit. Okay, just like so. Strip. Now what I like to do is cut into the casing. Don't pull all the way off, just nick it and pull it off ever so slightly, like a millimeter, and then take that little excess bit there and twist it so that when you have your exposed wire, it's already nice and twisted and it won't fray at all. It's a lot easier to solder that way. Again, cut into it, twist it, toss it. And one last time. Cut, twist, toss. Okay. We have our 3 exposed wires. I'm going to tin these with my solder and soldering iron, just so that they're easier to solder onto the board. You should always tin your wires after you strip them, by the way. One, 2, 3. Go. I like to cut my length down a little bit. You don't really need much. And the more excess you have, the more prone you are to have some short somewhere that's kind of hard to see. So I just take a small pair of wire cutters and shorten those lengths down. That's about halfway down for me. Alright, now find your ground. For me, that's going to be the one on this side. And let's see here. The jacks I provide you with, they're little number 1 and 2s next to left and right. So 1 goes to left and 2 goes to right. If you need another way of telling what you're looking at, ground is the long tab. If you put it down, left is going to be on your left, right is going to be on your right. So let's solder this onto the board. the way so you can see what I'm doing. Get some solder on your iron, not too much. And I like to start from the middle, so that would be your right channel. Third point in, counting from both sides. So there are 5 pads on this potentiometer that you can solder to. 2 of them would be the wrong pads. By the way, if you think soldering to a pocket is difficult, try doing a pro sound on an Advance SP. Alright, we got one done. I'm going to move this. I just realized there are some components that are blocking your view here. And left. There we go. And finally our ground. I need more solder. Okay, that's it for soldering. As far as the 1/8 inch is concerned anyways. Take your large wire cutters, and what you're going to do, I'm actually going to mark it with a marker so you can see. I want you to cut all of this away. And be careful not to cut so far in that you damage the traces on any of these components that are in the corner here. But basically you're just taking away a little triangle of your PCB in the upper left. Just like that. Okay, so make sure all your buttons are back in here. I'm actually going to grab a start button from elsewhere because I don't know what I did with the one for this guy. I have another Game Boy over here right now. One of those really nice pockets that look like the original gray brick. Pretty happy with that one. I'll finish modding that later though. Damn, I wish I knew where it was. Anyways, okay, we're good. Take your LCD, make sure it's clean, pop it in, put in your PCB, and hit the power switch with that little tab there. Oh, and your wires, by the way. Forgot to cover this. I want, if at all possible, you should wrap your wires down and around the D-pad or up and around the D-pad. Really just snake it through some way so they can come out in the corner here. I like to go around the D-pad through the inside. Just a little bit easier. It's a really tight squeeze over on this extreme edge. You can even put a piece of tape down here if you want. It's not really necessary. Okay. Welcome back to the third and final Pocket backlighting tutorial. My name is Nonfinite. While we were gone, I went ahead and took the liberty of doing a couple steps here. They're pretty essential steps. You wouldn't have been able to see some of the finer details, so I simply took care of it, and I'm going to provide some links, pictures, and such so you can reference those and see exactly what I did. So, I put the screws back in my PCB. 3 screws. Again, be very cautious not to put a screw into this spot right here. That's where your tri-wing screw, one of the 2 for the battery compartment, is going to screw in. So if you put a screw in there, you won't be able to close up your case all the way. I soldered the wires of Backlight to the PCB with a little shrink tubing and resistor here. And I ran the cable over to the hole we drilled and tightened this nut here before putting the back on top of the GameBoy Pocket. Reason being, it's easier to tighten while it's still open. So I'm going to go ahead, close this up. I already have my screws dropped into the holes here. Be careful not to over tighten these tri-wing screws as well. In addition to the interior screws, if you over tighten things, you have a potential of shorting out a wire. I've encountered situations where a backlight won't work simply because there's too much pressure over here and it's actually squeezing on the wires and causing a short. I've seen wires severed, and I have seen screws go through the plastic casing of the Pocket. What I'm talking about is right here and right here, behind the screen protector. You can't actually see it because the screen protector is on, but there are these 2 holes on each side of the screen where you can actually see your tri-wings, the little bronze ends of them. If you screw it in too much, it'll actually poke through and then your screen protector will pop out. So really, don't crank on it too much. You don't need to do that. Just make sure it's nice and tight, but not too tight. And we're done. Pop in a pair of batteries. And there you have it. We have a white, normal backlit, pro-sounded GameBoy Pocket. Thanks for watching.